I know.
Sushant Sareen, there appears to be a heightened level of virulence since August the 29th. You know, specific words from the Chinese press, Global Times mostly, about tanks being destroyed, about Indian troops not being able to survive at these high altitudes. What do you think?
Look, there are a couple of things. Personally, I don't take Global Times seriously at all. Shiv, even during the Doklam crisis, we saw the kind of nonsense this editor, I don't know how he's become an editor, what kind of connections he has, what his USP is. But, he's a palpable idiot. But the point is that he's there and he does this propaganda. He says the most ridiculous things, and he also churns out, or his paper or his institution churns out blatantly racist stuff. You remember that one video which they churned out with a Sikh, and then they were trying to lampoon a Sikh out there, and okay, good, a Sikh represents India, and the Chinese are actually quite scared of the Sikhs because of what the Sikh troops did when the Brits were occupying parts of China. But having said that, you remember all that propaganda he did. How did the whole thing end? So I take whatever Global Times says with a pinch of salt. I agree with what you are saying, that yes, they, because most of us don't read People's Daily, most of us don't read the other Chinese language thing. So our go-to option is Global Times, and I think that is what Global Times circulation is probably much more in India than anywhere else in the world, at least the eyeballs which they get. So to that extent, they use it for propaganda purposes. And yes, to the extent that you start taking it seriously and it starts affecting you, I think it kind of serves their purpose. Of course, I don't see how a lot of us take it. A lot of us actually laugh at it. A lot of us, actually junk it. A lot of us don't even take it seriously. But that is as far as the Global Times is concerned. The rest of the videos and other stuff which they are churning out, and that kind of stuff, suddenly they come out with exercises in Tibet, and that's not just the Global Times, it's the other Chinese media also which comes out. They're not as vitriolic, they're not as vehement as Global Times, but nevertheless, I think the message which they're trying to give is that China is a far superior thing, power, the military is really clued in. Look, we are giving hot meals to our soldiers in all those fancy drones and all of that. Those are kind of things even we can show. What's the big deal in that? And maybe we need to start doing it. As I think the AGDPI did come up with a couple of videos which are pretty impressive. They showed paratroopers, jumping into the hills and all sorts of other stuff they showed, which is also effective. So that kind of propaganda can go on. Actually, the bottom line is what happens if a shooting match starts. And that is what will tell you whether the Chinese are up to the mark or not. Until then, even Hollywood makes films, Bollywood makes films. I'm sure Chinese make all sorts of films. That's okay. That's part of the game. That's part of the psychological warfare, information warfare that happens all the time. But I think we should be a little circumspect about how seriously we take the Global Times.
Okay, fair enough. We should be circumspect in terms of how seriously we take the Global Times, just as China needs to be circumspect about certain warmongering that is perceived to be happening in the Indian free press, as Ainar Tanjan said. Mr. Tanjan, in the midst of such virulence, you're saying that it's happening in the Indian press. The Indian press has, eyes fixed on the Global Times, which I repeat is state-affiliated media. Are, discussions going to be allowed to happen? Because like I said, there is going to be another round of military-level talks right now, and it's difficult to ignore the atmosphere that has been created by outlets like Global Times.
Well, as you pointed out, this is the virulence is on both sides. For the Chinese, they take things very literally. So when they see so many news outlets in India saying things that we're going to teach China a lesson, we have our Mirage fighters in charge, we will not be toyed with, we will be respected, we will take strategic areas, we will force China to retreat, we will not be bowed. I mean, this kind of, this is silly. This is kind of things that I would expect of 11-year-olds on the playground, basically making boasts about how they're going to beat the other guy up. We are adults. There is no point in having any kind of physical showdown. Body bags are not victories. They don't confer honor. All they do is tragic loss to the families of those involved.